Welcome to the Brian Craig Show podcast. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. And of course, the Brian Craig Show is brought to you by Tom Laporta at Laporta Contracting and Roofing, who will never sell you a roof you do not need. All right, we got a lot going on. And just right before we went live here, I just saw this little clip of Stephen Curry, the basketball player, on X. And I thought I'd play this. And, I do not typically pay attention to what athletes say. Most athletes, at least, at the professional level, don't know much about anything. I mean, they don't. I mean, they're talented or skilled in their things. So they, and that usually pops up when they're like in Little League, right? So their whole life is just passing through from one practice to a game to a practice to a game. And they really don't know too much. And LeBron James is probably the average intelligence level of your professional athlete.
Well, I've seen Stephen Curry on Subway commercials, and he can hardly speak.
Yeah, I know.
He's not very articulate.
He's not very bright either. And he came out today on television. They had him on CNBC, and he came out in support of Kamala Harris for president of the United States. And I want to play this. This is I'll play the whole thing, then we'll talk about it. This is Stephen Curry's reason for his support of Kamala Harris.
Obviously, endorsing Kamala is important for me, for my family.
Why? What are the issues you care about most?
Say what?
What are the issues you care about?
I just know from, especially women's rights and thinking about, what's at stake with this election, and understanding, we need to be in a position where women have the right to choose what's right for them. And that's at the top of the list for me. I have amazing women in my life who've, been a huge inspiration to me. But knowing Kamala and having been around her, and I understand she's qualified for this job. She's, I think, representing what it means to be a great leader and being a decent human being in terms of representing our country the right way. So it's an easy choice for me, but to be able to have be in a situation where you can be a part of the DNC, do a video like that, let people know where I feel like, but foster positive conversations, through it all. I think that's what our country needs.
Yeah, he should stick to the Subway commercials. Okay.
When they ask people why they vote for Kamala, they all go women's rights. That's the only thing that they can say.
Yeah. That
they feel makes her stand apart. Trump is not against women. He did not mandate against abortions. All he did was give it back to the states, and which allows voters to decide, which is how it was always meant to be, that the voters decide what they want. And if you are somebody who likes to get a lot of abortions, you can go move to California and get as many as you want. We have a lot of things we're voting on this November on marijuana and an abortion issue as well. The voters are deciding. They're putting up a thing, Amendment 6, on whether or not there should be allowed for abortions after 6 weeks, where the government can't get involved in this and that. I have a feeling, I don't know if that's going to pass or not, but that's how it's supposed to be, where the federal government does not impose these laws on everybody. The voters decide through their state governments.
Well, this thing with Stephen Curry here, this code word, women's rights, it's code for abortion. And in fact, with the overturning of Roe v. Wade in many parts of the country, abortion is going to be more common, more accessible, and everything else, because some states that are more conservative might reduce at what week or what month. Mm-hmm. The liberal states are going out of their way to make sure that you can do it as late as possible. So, but this thing with Stephen Curry and women's rights, that is such nonsense. Okay, the whole idea of abortion and women's rights is such an out of date concept. Back in the days when abortions were not illegal before Roe v. Wade. Okay, the Roe v. Wade case, which, by the way, the woman never had an abortion, and that child was born, the Roe v. Wade lady, Norma McCorvey. But she was in Texas, okay? And Texas had an exception for rape or incest. And she was not impregnated through rape or incest. She lied and said she was, okay? But even back then, you could get abortions in Texas, which was at the time as conservative gets in the country, everywhere throughout the state. Because some of Texas isn't as conservative as it is, as you would like it to be. Remember that's where Beto's from. So even before Roe v. Wade, women could get abortions and did get abortions. But back in that time, there was a stigma put on women who were pregnant out of wedlock that does not exist anymore.
Right, that's true.
We were watching Kathy and I watch at night. We take a break from the news and we watch old TV shows and movies, and we watch The Love Boat a lot. We were watching an episode of The Love Boat, and this woman comes on. She comes on the cruise ship, and she bumps into the dock. She bumps into the ship's doctor. Dr.
Bricker.
Yeah, and she says, I'm pregnant. And my doctor told me to check in with you because I'm pregnant going on the cruise. And he says, oh, where's your husband? And then she says, I'm not married. And then there was a pause.
And
then
the music gets all ominous.
There was like this dramatic music.
Yes.
And there was a close-up of the doctor's face, and he was trying not to judge her, but he was. And at that time, which was like the late 70s, early 80s, there was even still a stigma to out-of-wedlock pregnancies that does not exist in society anymore. Not that stigma is a justification for an abortion, but what I'm telling you is—
Plus they have the morning after pill. There's
all the
other options.
All the things that they used to point to as a need for abortion, most of them we don't have in the country anymore. Children are viable outside of the womb earlier than ever. I mean, it's so early now. It's almost conception. They're almost viable at this point. I think
the stigma is a big part of it. I know
it used to be a big deal.
There's somebody in your family and my family. My cousin Lenore was adopted, and her birth mother got pregnant in the 50s, in the early 50s, was not married. So she had my cousin and gave her up for adoption because it was unheard of to have a baby out of wedlock. And back then, and the same thing happened with your mom's mom.
My mom was adopted.
And so my cousin Lenore was adopted through like Catholic Charities or something up in Canada, or the church or something. And that's how it was, and because it was totally like unacceptable in society and unheard of in the 50s, 60s, even 70s for a woman to have a baby without a husband. Now, that's how it is. Like, women and young girls don't even think about getting married anymore. They just say, I want a kid, I'm going to get pregnant. It's just totally reversed.
This idea that they made this movie about 25 or 30 years ago called If These Walls Could Talk, and it was about abortion back in the days when it was illegal, and they portrayed these things. My mother was adopted, and my mother was born in 1951, right? So that's 22 years before Roe v. Wade. And when my grandparents died, my mother tracked down her birth mother, and her birth mother told her a little bit about the situation. And then I remembered, and my mom did too, some things that my grandmother had told us about the situation. And we found out what happened back then, okay? So 1951, I mean, you're barely into the 50s. You're right out of the 40s, right? And the 1950s is considered to be – I'm not saying this is necessarily true, but the 50s is before the Civil Rights Movement, the early 50s. This is considered to be like by liberals, the most oppressive time in history of America, right, is the 50s. Because they always say, when Trump says, make America great again, what, he wants to take us back to the 50s? This is how it worked, okay? My mother's birth mother was pregnant. She was not married. So what happened back, and this is how, and I've heard similar stories from other people back then because of my mom's adoption. I've followed such things. Women found out I guess they didn't have the pregnancy test at the drugstores like they have now. So they would go to their doctor, and this is what happened. My mother's birth mother went to her doctor, and she thought she was pregnant, and he said, you're pregnant, whatever they did back then to determine such things. And the doctor connected my mother's birth mother with my grandparents that adopted her. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's how it was. That's what happened with my cousin too.
So I don't know the system that was in place back then that did such things. But primary care physicians and family doctors prior to Roe v. Wade had some type of network where when someone was pregnant and they didn't want to have the baby or they couldn't for whatever reason, that they would connect them with people and adopt and set up an adoption. And what my birth grandmother, I guess would be the way to describe her, what she did, because she was pregnant out of wedlock, and this is 1951. My mother was born towards the end of the year, so this is the beginning of 1951. She went and stayed with someone out of town, and she told my mother this. She says, "That's what you did back then. Okay, if you got pregnant, you were married, you went and stayed out of town with someone until you had the baby." But there was an adoption network in this country. I don't know how official or unofficial it is, because liberals write the history books, and this is something they've omitted. But there was some type of system that family doctors had.
They don't tell you any of that. They just talk about the clothes hanger, which is another
exactly
myth.
To help women like this give their babies up for adoption. And the woman never said anything about abortion. My birth grandmother, she said, "That's what you did then."
And that was a big deterrent for promiscuity. It really was. Like, in the 50s and 60s, they'd call them good girls, or this is what my stepmother told me, who went to high school in the 60s. There were good girls and there were bad girls. And the bad girls, were the ones screwing around. And the good girls waited till marriage. And she said, because everybody was like really terrified of getting pregnant and, what we would do if that happened. It was like very shameful. And I think young people, whatever, we can go on a whole other thing, are just too promiscuous anyway. But there's many options now. I just don't think abortion is a big issue. And I really think this whole thing they're trying to sell, that Trump's oppressing women, it's not connecting, because he is basically, with Roe v. Wade being overturned, he has basically taken the issue out of the federal elections. Mm-hmm. It's a state issue now. And every time they ask him, he says it's up to the states. He even said, "I'm not going to impose a federal anything on abortion. It's not the federal government's job."
He said he wouldn't sign. He said he wouldn't sign a law banning abortion federally.
No, he won't. He said it's up to the states, and that is when they say that, there's nowhere they can go with that, because he is not making it a federal issue. So it's not an issue in the federal election. It's more of an issue for a governor to deal with than anybody.
In fact,
and that's how it's always meant to be.
What President Trump's position is, and J.D. Vance has said this too, he would not sign a federal abortion ban law. He wouldn't sign it. He would veto a bill, right? Which is what that, if he wouldn't sign it, he would either veto it or
but that's the only thing they think they can get on him. Or
he would just let it sit on his desk and and it just goes away. And if anything, he's kind of, with that kind of position, a lot of conservatives consider him liberal on abortion. You know what I mean? Because he won't agree to signing a federal ban on it. So, but I would argue that Kamala Harris and the Democrats like the fact that Roe v. Wade is overturned, because it gives them an issue to gripe about that they didn't have before. Now,
there's other issues that are just more important to women.
I don't think that's a big deal anymore.
They think women only care about reproductive rights. They think black people only care about reparations. And they think, Hispanics only care about immigration. They think that you only care about certain things based on your gender, your color. But women have to buy food and they have to feed their kids. They're not worried about a kid they could possibly have. They're worried about the kids they have now that are in the home that they have to take care of. And when you see now, my mom was telling me that there's a bunch of Dollar Trees closing. They're about to close 1,000 more places. Yeah. And this is heartbreaking to me, because they just can't stay open, because they can't offer the food for what they're selling.
The profit margins aren't high enough.
And a lot of people for years and years, you see it on TikTok, there's a lot of people that are low-income people from all walks of life. There's black people, white people, everybody's got poor people in their demographic. And they would shop at Dollar Tree, and it would amaze me, these mothers that had they'd say, okay, I'm a single mother, I got 3 kids, I'm going to shop for the week at Dollar Tree, and I'm going to spend less than $100. It would amaze me the amount of food they could get for under $100 for a week to feed 4 people, and how they would be. And then they would go and make a video of what they're cooking. It's not the healthiest food, but you got to eat and you got to feed your kids. And they would go to these places because they could not afford going to a regular, even Aldi's too expensive for these people. And Aldi's pretty cheap, okay? They have to go to the Dollar Tree to get food. Big Lots is closing. All these places where they sell food that's very, very affordable for these low-income families
and
are
senior
closing.
Citizens.
Yes, and it's frightening to me. You know, I had to get a bag of cat food today with the groceries. It was $20 for a larger bag because we have 3 cats of dry cat food. I remember people used to make comments about old people eating cat food because they couldn't afford food. You can't even afford cat food anymore.
That's right.
$20 for a 10-pound bag of dry cat food. That used to be $10. It's crazy.
You know, I got a call yesterday morning on the radio from a guy, and sometimes people tell you things, and I don't know if they mean to tell you things. And he was a nice guy. He was calling in, and he was talking about how tough it is for him and his wife with the economy.
The food's a problem.
And he told me that he's struggling to buy dog food for his dog.
Yes.
And I've never heard someone talk about struggling for food to feed their pets before.
Pets are very, very expensive now. I don't even want to tell you what we spent on these 2 kids.
Well, the food
at the vet.
The food,
but the food alone now is going to kill you.
People will always skip the vet, right? But the food, and the problem is because sometimes I don't mind going to some deep places, but sometimes when somebody calls and they talk about struggling with food, it's such a painful thing. I don't like to deal with those kind of conversations, sometimes. And I worry these stores are closing. I didn't probe this guy as deeply as I do a lot of times because I just didn't really want to go there. It was sad, right?
It's very upsetting. Everybody has to eat food.
What the guy told me though, that I've never heard such a thing. He said he's struggling for dog food.
Yeah.
And the thing about that, this goes to how bad the food prices are, right? With a dog, if you're having severe financial problems, typically dogs can you can feed them your scraps, right?
That's right.
But food prices are so high, this guy, him and his wife aren't buying enough food to have scraps, right? They're buying just enough food to survive on. There's nothing left over to feed the dog, so they actually have to have dog. You understand what I'm saying? It's not like the old days where people got leftovers in the refrigerator. We're in a period right now with the inflation is so bad in this country, and people are struggling so much for the basic necessities. I think it is very safe to say that Americans as a whole, by the millions, are struggling. Like this guy that called me yesterday on the radio about the dog, at almost like the Great Depression kind of levels. You don't see it as much as the Great Depression because there's like a social welfare system we have now that they didn't have then, and the Dollar Trees and the Big Lots that are closing, people are using them to survive and such. But I've never ever heard of someone struggling to feed their pets before. That's how bad it is, especially a dog, because a dog can eat anything. They're like pigs.
Pet food, it's just crazy.
Now, I want to tell everyone this, that if, boy, oh boy, here in Florida, it is rainy season, and it is raining every day. And the rain's been pretty heavy this week. If you have a wet spot on your ceiling, you've got a leak in your roof, and you want to get that roof taken care of, you want to call Tom Laporta at Laporta Roofing and Contracting. No matter where you are in the state of Florida, Tom Laporta can help you. He works on every type of structure, both residential and commercial. He's a good MAGA guy, and he is the only roofer that openly says that he will not sell you a roof you do not need. And what that means is if you need just a simple repair, he will do it. And let me tell you, I've never heard another roofer say that they will never sell you a roof you do not need. I've never heard that. In fact, Kathy and I have had experiences before we knew Tom Laporta years ago when we needed roof repairs, and we went to roofer after roofer, and they said, we do not do repairs. Can you imagine? We do not do repairs, but I only need a repair. They wanted to put on a whole new roof. We'll put on a whole new roof, but we won't do a repair. So if you need just a simple repair, Tom Laporta will do it. No matter where you are in the state of Florida, give him a call. This number rings directly to Tom Laporta's cell phone. 954-604-4602. 954-604-4602. For Tom Laporta at Laporta Contracting and Roofing. We'll be right back.
How would you like to use AI to unleash your inner creativity? You could do just that with Astoria AI, available in the Apple App Store. Astoria AI is a revolutionary new app that turns your ideas into stunning videos, images, and much more. Astoria AI is powered by cutting-edge artificial intelligence. From breathtaking visuals to lifelike voiceovers, Astoria AI does it all. When you start creating with Astoria AI, not only will you be amazed, but your friends and coworkers, they'll be amazed too. If you can imagine it, Astoria AI can create it. No special skills are needed, and you don't have to be a tech genius. Just download Astoria AI and begin creating. Download the app right now in the Apple App Store. Astoria AI, where your imagination meets innovation. Brian Craig here. Our 6th annual cruise is coming up, and you're all invited. This time, we're sailing for 7 nights on Celebrity Cruise Line's newest ship, the Ascent, to Puerto Plata, St. Thomas, and St. Martin. We set sail March 30th. We have private shore excursions, private cocktail parties, group activities. We're going to go to the shows together and much, much more. Call in at Cruise and Travel Depot right now, 561-244-5779, 561-244-5779. And online at cruisingdepot.com to make your reservation and lock in our private group rate. Nothing comes close to Celebrity Cruises.
Hey, good morning, Brian. It's Lisa, and my husband and I received our My Pillow 2.0 that we ordered with Kane the other day, the buy one, get one free, and they're our first My Pillows, and we love them. We absolutely love them. They're just absolutely marvelous. Yeah, I'm so glad. I got slippers on the way, too.
Go to mypillow.com and use our promo code Kane at checkout, K-A-N-E, and buy your My Pillow 2.0. Right now, buy one, get one free. You can also order by phone, toll free, 800-716-4879. 1-800-716-4879. Promo code Kane.
You are listening to The Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at BrianCraigShow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host, Kathy. Thanks so much, everyone, for tuning in. Okay, so this is a big month. The month of September is huge, right? Next week is the debate with Trump and Kamala Harris, and then after that, we've got the sentencing in New York of President Trump.
Gracious.
And most people assume that this judge is going to sentence him to jail.
Yeah.
And which is insane because, first of all, okay, obviously Trump did nothing wrong. He didn't commit any crimes. But these are federal crimes. The court is a local court. You got to try federal crimes in the federal court, not in the local court, right? So the court does not even have jurisdiction over these fake crimes, okay? So just based on that, it's insane. But we all know what's going on. Steven Crowder's got this story out this week of this Justice Department official who talked about how it's a persecution of Trump, that they just want him as a convicted felon to use against him in the election.
I'm sure Trump can use that to call that guy as a witness.
Yeah. Well, that guy, he released a statement and said that he didn't mean any of that. He was just trying to impress his date and just saying things to try to impress his date.
Yeah, right.
But regardless of this,
but if they get him under oath, he'd have to say the truth, Brian.
This judge Mercan, whatever it is, he's corrupt. His daughter is a big Democrat fundraiser. She's an equity partner in this company that she raises the money through. She's raised $100 million from Democrats on the promise of sending Trump to prison. The judge kept seats open and reserved during the entire Trump trial for his daughter to bring clients in to sit and watch the trial. Can you imagine?
No.
And they took the money. The family took the money. And I know people say on the left, well, he didn't take the money. The daughter took the money. Come on. The daughter, she raised $100 million from Democrats. And these big fundraisers, they have companies like she does, that's all they do is raise money. They make money by getting a commission on the money that they raise, okay? And so she's made millions of dollars off of this Trump trial that her dad is overseeing. And give me a break. Of course, it's his money.
They're doing the Hunter Biden.
The
Biden family form of payment.
The Biden family business plan.
Exactly.
And the daughter is to the judge what Hunter is to Joe. Okay, it's the same kind of thing. And come on, everyone knows this. But before they shot Trump in Butler, everybody thought, well, the Secret Service would never allow them to take him away to jail. And now, is anyone so sure about that? You know, would the Secret Service stop if the judge ordered him taken to jail? You know, maybe he'll sentence him to jail and make it a suspended sentence. Maybe he'll put him under house arrest. Maybe he'll send him to Rikers. We don't know. But I'll tell you this. These evil doers, okay, these evil doers that are working against Trump in the Democrat Party, I believe personally that if they do that, it will be the end of the Democrat Party as we know it.
I think so too. I think it would be an absolutely colossal mistake, but I don't think they can even see clearly anymore.
No, because
they're blinded by
hate,
their Trump rage, and also by frustration. They have been trying to get this guy for years and years and years and years. Nothing, and because nothing is working or has worked, they've pushed that envelope further and further and further, where they don't even recognize what's happening anymore, and they can't see the reality of what they're doing. And I tell you, Trump did the town hall last night, and he looked fantastic. He looked better than I've probably ever seen him. He looked great. He was relaxed.
Yeah.
He was having a good time, joking, laughing. He seemed very happy. I don't think he's concerned. This is my prediction. They're going, as soon as he gets sentenced, and I think he will sentence him to jail, they're going to put in an appeal, and it's going to get overturned. So I think the judge will sentence him just to the right amount of time where the appeal would last. So, and I'm assuming, I think he's going to sentence him like 6 months or something through the election. Trump will get elected. It'll be an absolute landslide. He'll be a political prisoner. He'll be able to literally say, I'm a political prisoner like Nelson Mandela. And I think it would just help him so much.
This is the thing. You know, what we were talking about in the first segment, things are so bad in the country right now, okay? That's one of the reasons they're not going to get away with this.
It'll frighten people.
If things were going well in the country, if the country was in a good position and people were not suffering, if people were not sacrificing food and all this stuff, they might be able to get away with this. But the people in the country are suffering.
Yes. And
the people blame Kamala Harris and Joe Biden because they see that they're putting all their concern into Ukraine, into the illegals that come here. They don't care about us, and because of that, a lot of people that aren't conservative or have never been MAGA people see reality for the first time in all the years that Trump's been on the scene. That wow, they really are after this guy because they want to continue.
It scares people.
Yeah, it does scare people.
It scares people.
It does scare people, and because of all of that, it would be a landslide victory that many people would not even think is possible with the way things are now. You know, like when
I don't think they care.
When Nixon and Reagan won 49 states, the country wasn't as there wasn't as much migration in the country as we have today, right? Like people have moved all over the country. I know people moved around back then too, but not like they have since. And like, look, California went Republican for Reagan, and California is hopeless for us now, right? It's changed so much. But if they sentence Trump to real prison time, this corrupt judge,
oh, they will. It might just be a day, 24 hours.
No matter what if they take him away and put him in a cell,
that's crazy.
It will be the largest victory since Reagan's reelection.
I agree.
in '84. I'm not saying that Trump would win California because I don't think that's possible, but he would have the biggest victory of a Republican president since then, without a doubt. And it's just got awful. You know, it's scary to people because in this country, there's always been partisan divides, right?
Yes.
Like we were talking about abortion or affirmative action or U.S. involvement in a military act. There's always divisions over these things, and there always will be. However, the American people, regardless of their political background, I'm talking about regular people, not the political Washington insiders, like regular people like you guys and me and Kathy. Regular people, no matter what their political beliefs were, always had confidence in the justice system. Mm-hmm. And when you see the justice system weaponized with this lawfare like that, that wakes up a lot of people and like, whoa, if they can do this to him, I'm done. Right? And what got me thinking about this—
Well, it's not just that also. It's the overreach.
Yeah.
And people know what's going on, and they know
That's
what it
right.
is. They're not stupid. And it's the overreach. What's happening is obvious.
Mm-hmm.
And there's people that are on the left that have understood that, and they've flipped.
Yeah.
Or they understand it and they ignore it. They're like, I don't care. He's dangerous. And they've convinced them that he's a dangerous guy because they've convinced them that all white men are bad. And he's just he's the amalgam of everything that's bad about all white men in this country. And he's the sacrificial lamb that they want to put up there. And that's, you know what I mean?
Well, yeah. Well,
it's part of the brainwashing.
But the thing about Trump is it's not just that people see the lawfare. People know that he's the only person that can fix the financial situation that people are suffering through in the country as well. So a lot of people that may not— it's like Trump said at the town hall,
right?
You need me even if you don't like me. You need me, right?
He said, you don't have to like me. I don't care. But if you don't elect me, this country's in trouble, and I'm going to fix the problem. And he said, you don't have to like me. And I think that will resonate with a lot of people.
Yeah. And what I saw—
like I know people in my family, they don't like everything about Trump. And they'll tell me this and that, but they're still voting. But they're like, but I'm going to vote for him, obviously, because Kamala's a disaster.
Well, there's one thing I saw that showed what I think was a little foreshadowing by the Biden-Kamala Harris regime. Hunter Biden is going to plead guilty to this trial, right? In California, he's going to go for a guilty plea. And obviously his dad's going to pardon him. He's just waiting till, and you know what? I would— as much as I dislike Biden, I mean, I'd if you were my kid, I'd pardon him too. Okay, I mean, anybody would. I know a lot of people will say I wouldn't do it. Yeah, you would. It doesn't mean that he's not guilty, and he's a bad guy, Hunter Biden, and he will always be a bad guy, and he's gonna have a lifetime of trouble because when his dad's no longer president, no longer a power broker, he's not gonna have anybody to bail him out, right? And so even if he pardons him from this, he's not pardoning him from future crimes, and he will go on to commit future crimes, I promise you. But the thing with Hunter, when I saw that Hunter changed his plea and is going to go guilty, and we're so
avoid the trial,
we're so close.
Yes.
Well, we're so close to the sentencing of Trump.
Yes,
it's like the Biden regime. They're saying, okay, we got to act like we're tough
impartial,
on crime,
right?
We don't put up with this and everything else to try to give credibility to the repression of Trump.
I agree with you on that.
And because they have Trump derangement syndrome is hate, and hate it has an intoxication effect on your brain. You don't see the world clearly.
Yeah, like Anakin Skywalker.
And they think that Hunter pleading guilty gives credibility to the lawfare against Trump in this Judge Mercan's trial. It's bizarre thinking. And there's no way to predict how the judge is going to operate.
Well, Biden wants what he wants to do.
Yeah.
He wants to show people that he's not involved in this at all.
That's correct.
And the fact that he won't pardon his son
he will.
Proves to the world that he doesn't get involved in these DOJ things, okay?
That's right.
He won't even intervene with his own kids. So why would he at all be involved with this Trump thing?
That's right.
And that's what they're trying to do, distance the White House. And believe me, Kamala's involved in this too, to distance them from what's about to happen. But everybody knows that this is a bunch of nonsense.
See, Biden can pardon his son the last 30 seconds he's in office, okay?
Right.
So this idea that we're tough on crime, even on our own family, I don't buy any of that. And while there's no way to predict what the judge is going to do with the sentencing, we know this. He's corrupt, and his family took the money.
Yeah.
Right? So what the judge does is up to the people that gave them the money. So if the people that gave them the money want Trump sent to jail, he's going to go to jail. If the people that sent him the money don't want Trump to go to jail because they see what we're seeing, that it would be devastating for the Democrats, then he won't go to jail. So it's not up to the judge. It's up to the people that gave the money to the judge through the daughter.
It is amazing how
It's crazy town.
Somebody who was liked by everybody, he was on Saturday Night Live all the time, magazine covers. He knew everybody. He knew every politician, every actor, every this. It is amazing how the deep state has successfully, in a lot of ways, turned everybody against him that he knew. Even you have Al Sharpton, who he is friends with. He has known him a long, long time. Jesse Jackson, all these, they go way back. There's pictures of them in New York. They were all friendly. And you got him on TV bashing him because they're paying him money to say what they want him to say. There's no loyalty with and Trump's realized that. He has realized that. I think when he first became elected, he thought all these people were just going to be nice to him and work with him. And they all threw him under the bus because they get paid millions of dollars on TV. And he realized, well, there's no loyalty in this business at all. He said politics is worse than business with a mob.
Yeah.
He said it's much worse. And it really is. It's ugly. It's always been that way. And there's things that go on that we still don't know. And he's talked about that. He said, there are things I know that if I told you, it would be a big problem for people in this country and it would make things unstable. And he said, but I don't talk about it because I don't want to upset everybody. So there are things he knows that he keeps to himself because he knows things could happen. It could create a ripple effect.
That's right.
And he's trying to bring the country together, not tear it apart. And I really feel that's his goal. But I have to say, I have noticed lately, and I think it's because after he, didn't die in that assassination and the people he's surrounding himself with, I just see a difference in his personality. He just seems lighter.
I agree.
And not as angry. It's like it's like
it's clarity. He has clarity.
He's more like it's in God's hands, and whatever happens, happens. I have faith. Everything's going to work out. He's just in a different place. He has perspective now. He has a lot of perspective on things. He sees people for who they are, and you're right. It's given him tremendous clarity.
Yeah, and
a lot of us have that clarity.
But the thing with Trump, I told you guys, when I saw Trump on inauguration day, it was Biden's inauguration day. Remember, I told you guys, I saw Trump the last 15 minutes of his first term. I was one of the last people to see him when he was still the sitting president. And I remember everybody around, it was like they were so sad and almost in tears. Some were crying. And Trump came by and he was smiling ear to ear. And I talked to you on the phone. I called you. I made a YouTube video about this. Yep. And I said, that man does not have a worry in the world.
He was probably planning his comeback already.
But you're right. Since they shot him, he has a clarity that I've never seen before. He's a different person in some ways.
He is. He seems that way to me.
He's a lot more relaxed.
Yes.
Because he doesn't have the weight on his shoulders, I think. He knows it's going to work out.
Yes, I think so. I think it's really increased his faith in a lot of ways. And, when you survive something like that, time goes by and you realize, my time is not up for a reason. I'm meant to be here because I'm here to do something.
Yeah.
And if my time was up, that bullet would have hit him, would have hit me, is probably what he's thinking. It came within an inch of his life, literally. But that last turn of the head saved his life. That was no accident. There's no way that is not divine intervention. And he knows that there's more for him to do. And I think there's a calmness to him that I have not seen before.
I agree.
He's just, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's nice to see that he is in that place. He's kind of like, has the attitude, whatever's going to, and I've heard him say this, whatever's going to unfold is going to unfold.
Yeah.
It's in God's hands, and I'm not going to fight it. I'm just going to let it happen and trust the process. Trust what happens, trust God. And that's the kind of place we all need to be at. But you hear that people that have died and have like crossed over briefly and then come back, they have a peace about them that they said they never had before because they know what's on the other side and they're not afraid anymore. And I feel it's almost like that with Trump. Like, I'm not saying he was a fearful person, fearful. But like you said, there's a different perspective and clarity with him now. But anyway.
Absolutely. Now, I want to take a moment to thank our Patreon supporters for their support of the program. And those of you that are Patreon supporters, thank you all for your support. Your support of this program helps us out a lot, and it's greatly appreciated. If you would like to become a Patreon supporter, there is a link in the description of this and every episode. Our top Patreon supporters get a live, on-air thank you shout out on each and every podcast episode. So the names you'll hear now are our top Patreon supporters. I want to thank Andrew and Connie, Christine, ETW, Chuck, D, Pamela, Rick, Nick, Wesley, Macho, Mike P, Carlos, Paulette, John, Heather, David, Maria in Texas, Richard, Alice, K-Mac, LeeZep, Shawna, Constance, George, Brandon, Rob and Trish Wilkerson, Christy R, and John S. These are our top Patreon supporters. Thank you all for your support. All right, we're out of time for today. We'll be back next time. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. Thanks for tuning in.